7 minutes after the hour now, and today is the second and the final day of senators' questions in the impeachment trial of President Trump. We had 93 questions yesterday. This thing went till 11 o'clock last night. We could have had one more question, except that Chief Justice John Roberts actually rejected a question from Republican Senator Rand Paul because the question would have required Justice Roberts to read the name of the whistleblower out loud. That was something that he was not comfortable doing, and so he rejected the question. But now the whistleblower comes back into the forefront when it comes to this story. Why? Because Republicans say if we're going to call witnesses, we want to hear from the whistleblower. We want to hear from Chairman Schiff, and we want to hear from Joe and Hunter Biden as well. But the Republicans have long said they actually do not want to hear from witnesses in this portion of the trial. They say that was the responsibility of the House, and that ship has sailed. But Democrats do want witnesses. They say they want to hear from the acting Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney, one of his aides. They want to hear from one of the managers at the Office of Management and Budget, the OMB. You can kind of think of them as like the bank. They're the ones that would release the check for Ukraine aid, and they would send it on its way, or they would hold on to it until someone tells them to go ahead and release that money. But they mostly want to hear from National Security Advisor, former National Security Advisor John Bolton. Now, he has this unpublished manuscript, which, as a side note, the White House has just said, you cannot publish this book the way it is. There's too much classified information in that manuscript. But in it, Bolton reportedly says that President Trump explicitly told him that the president said that the aid to Ukraine was directly tied to Ukraine announcing these investigations into the Bidens. Now, that is something that the president denies. In fact, he posted to Twitter yesterday a video that has an interview with John Bolton back in August, where he talks about that July 25 phone call between President Trump and the Ukraine president, President Zelensky. In that conversation, in this interview, he called that call, he said it was warm, it was cordial, it was pleasant. There was nothing in this interview to indicate there were any red flags or any warnings that Bolton sensed any impropriety or any potential conflicts. So when we take a look at that interview and what Donald Trump has to say, Democrats still want to hear from him. Now, one of the big things that happened yesterday that everyone will be talking about today that perked up everybody's ears was one of the defense lawyers for Donald Trump, Alan Dershowitz, because he came up with a new defense strategy that a lot of people were questioning.
And if a president does something which he believes will help him get elected in the public interest, that cannot be the kind of quid pro quo that results in impeachment.
Now, what a lot of people heard was that Dershowitz was saying that the president's personal interest and the public interest are one and the same. So if the president believes that he is the best choice here and it's in the public interest to have him elected, that anything he does to get that re-election is considered legal. You'll hear a lot of debate about that one today, and I'm guessing in the days and weeks ahead as well. Taking a look at the days ahead, we are getting those senators' questions today. We're expecting the vote on witnesses to happen tomorrow. If they vote that they do want to hear from witnesses, this will go a lot further than what we have up here on the calendar. But if they vote no witnesses needed, we've heard everything we need to know, let's vote to acquit or convict the president. That could happen as early as Saturday. It's 11 minutes after the hour, and we are hearing from Vanessa Bryant for the very first time since the death of her husband and her daughter. And his words are actually inspiring a lot of dads all over the world to talk about how proud they are to be fathers of daughters.